I will just make a note. I appreciate all the other members of the commission voting for me for president. This will be an exciting time for all of us. I am the newest member on the commission, and the work that we'll be looking at over the next couple months and years. But I'm honored, and we will continue with the agenda. We now have a vacancy in the office of vice president, so nominations are now in order for that office. Is there any nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate Liz Lamping.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Seconded?
I'll accept the nomination.
Nomination makes up. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the nomination of Liz Lamping to be vice president of the Redevelopment Commission?
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Liz. You are
Thank
now
you.
the vice president.
Now, are we switching seats again?
No, we're good.
No.
Okay. Moving on to the claim docket approval. Turn this over to you, or should I read it? I don't remember what I did from the last time.
I think you
Okay.
do, yeah.
We need 2 copies after you.
2 copies after we sign it.
Except to
Perfect.
read and
And I have a copy here.
I have 2.
So claims docket approval. This is the standard sheet that we always do. I'm really speaking to the audience and all those watching, but it essentially provides that there's been an examination of the accounts payable vouchers listed on the foregoing register of accounts, consisting of 1 page, except for accounts payable not allowed as shown on the register. Such accounts payable are hereby allowed in the total amount of $41,309.94. On the attached page, that's broken out to Peters Municipal Consultants for a total of $2,239.94. Lewis and Caps, is it pronounced Caps? Capus. For an amount of $1,521, and Eagle Valley Inc. for the amount of $37,549. That last one, to Eagle Valley Inc., is in reference to professional services work on the Garstang Street Drainage Improvement Project. We all have this in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the approve the claims docket?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Second, is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved.
Do you want me to start one over here, Kathy, or you want?
Just start it.
And then I'm actually, because I have an extra copy, I'm going to give the second one to Liz, and we'll just start
Okay.
down that way.
Perfect. Thank you,
Here's
sir.
the second one. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. One. Thank you. And second one. Okay.
Okay, so, So I was just reading through Jim's notes, so we agreed to pay 60,000, but this, because I was looking at, so had we already paid, I can't remember, had we already paid some of that? But
This is the first
This is the first.
bill that we've gotten
Okay, that's what I
regarding
thought.
what I think it was 2 months ago that we voted on, but this is the
Yeah.
first time that bills come due.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our next item of business. This has to do with the improvement projects on Main Street. At last month's meeting, there were 2 dining establishments that were discussed. O'Gara's at 522 Main Street, and what is it? Is it Shiny New
Shiny
Day?
Day.
Shiny Day Cafe, formerly Mom's, at 508 Main Street, as well as 2 retail stores, Treasure Troves at 615 Main Street, and Marketplace on Main Street at 625 Main Street. Now, I understand, and I see it in my packet, that there is some information regarding these programs, and so
I can
Nathan,
read.
if you want to read it.
I
you
can read it.
I'll turn it over to
You're
you.
gonna have to speak a lot more than I will, so I'll just read it for you, if that's okay.
Please.
Okay, this is a letter from Mayor Buckley, or it was information he gave you in the form of an email or a letter?
Yesterday, I had a meeting with the mayor in his office,
Okay.
so that's why I stated yesterday.
Okay. I want to apologize for not, this is from Mayor Buckley. I want to apologize for not being able to attend the RDC meeting. I am attending the graduation ceremony of a family friend. I wanted to share with you that I'm still very interested in working with the RDC and local businesses to help promote Main Street. I am no longer interested in removing any trees. As a matter of fact, I am going to meet with the Greenscape Commission to add trees to Main Street from Emerson Avenue to to 8th Avenue. I'm not in favor of eliminating parking on Main Street, but I do have an idea that I want to run past you. How about if we install temporary barriers, walls, and planters to make an area for outside seating during the spring, summer, and fall seasons and remove them once the outdoor seating season is over? I studied this concept down on Mass Avenue, and it seems to be working. It's very cheap to do, and storage of the planters and barriers would be simple. Setup time would take less than 30 minutes per site. The city would not purchase or supply tables, chairs, and umbrellas. That would be left up to the business owners. Just some thoughts on this. Should the RDC decide to do this, we could incorporate this immediately with little to no expense. Businesses would have to show a proof of insurance, which I believe was going to be the case even if we did permanent structures.
Correct.
We might want to stipulate that the outdoor seating would be designated no smoking. I don't think that's within our purview though, but that would be something that the city would have to determine. I think in conjunction with, and I don't know if there's health department there. That might be a health department issue because I'm guessing there's got to be some rules against smoking where food is served. But
Well,
don't
but
know.
he's talking about not just the food from Shiny Day Cafe,
Right.
he's talking about O'Gara's, which
Right.
doesn't serve, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know what that would be out of our purview. I mean, we're just here to simply either assist financially on these projects or not, but I don't think we'd be able to make any rules. The planters surrounding the former Safeway grocery would be used, and DPW is researching barriers. The flowers and greenery would be maintained by Borgman Enterprises.
And Nathan, up at the very top, and he has removed from the four businesses, this is only about Shiny Day Cafe and O'Gara's. He has eliminated the two retail establishments.
Kelsey, are you aware of this, or is this something you've discussed with the mayor? Do you have like an idea of what this is?
I am gonna walk Main Street and talk about the trees as
Okay.
a member of the Greenscape Commission. I didn't know about that letter, but that was my thought exactly, would be my solution. Because obviously, the idea of taking away parking spaces permanently did not, went over like a lead balloon, which is fine. I think temporary, movable planters, something that's definitely a barrier between the cars and the people is necessary.
So are we talking about putting those in some parking spots for like temporarily and then moving them to open?
I would think
No,
so.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So the parking lot between those two businesses is, at least on the GIS, says that whole parcel is owned, like the building owner for Moms and Edward Jones and all that parking lot belongs to that development company. So, I mean, safety-wise, it would be the best to put temporary patio space in that parking lot rather than on the Main Street
we can't pay
Right.
towards the board member.
We know that. He and I discussed that.
So would it be better, let me ask you this, if this is something where the city's thinking about and putting up temporary enclosures to allow for temporary seating space outside up and down our sidewalks and in certain places, would this be something that, I mean, they're gonna buy the supplies to do this, and they will do this as they see fit. Let's say if Shiny Day or O'Gara's were to close in the next year, and then somebody else comes in another area and they want to put it out, or they have the places, a new restaurant opens up and says, hey, we would like to put it out there, and say, yeah, we
Yes.
can do a quick put out. So would it be just that we should say, if the city is wanting to buy the supplies to allow to be able to do this as needed on Main Street, that we would pay X amount of dollars towards the initial cost right now?
We could do that.
And then that way, rather than getting into the bogged into who's
Yes.
doing what or where, we're just saying, if you're gonna spend whatever, we would put $4,000 towards it, or 5,000,
On the
whatever.
capital cost, not.
On the capital
Right.
cost, specifically to buy planters, to buy barriers, but the money is not to be used for the maintenance. Does that, I mean, I'm just thinking if that's,
Strictly to buy them, then the city can use them as they get
Yeah.
agreements on Main Street to
Right.
have the additional seating.
Yeah, for aesthetic or just.
because it doesn't sound like we're gonna get I don't think the city's, I mean, if he's not doing it, then the permanent structures would be dead at this point. I mean, and unless, I mean, maybe it's something we can attack down the road with the proper planning.
He didn't, he
but,
didn't act
I mean-
like that with me when I had the meeting with him.
What's that?
When I say meeting, it was maybe 10 minutes. But right now, he's just concentrating on O'Gara's and Shiny Day.
And this would be something that could be done almost immediately to
I asked
create
him-
patio space.
I asked him what he thought about dollar amount. He said he was thinking $2,500 per site from the RDC.
So if we did
Like a $5,000 investment.
a flat $5,000 towards it,
Right.
because then that would allow, if they had the stuff, and then say First Friday comes around and another
Yeah.
restaurant or place is like, hey, can we create an area, they could do that if they've already got the stuff to do it with.
If I'm following you correctly, I mean, really, that's the question I'm going to ask you. I don't think is inside of our purview. Again, we just put up money to help, but for how I'm following you is that this would be that restaurant, that establishment would want to do it. They would ask the city, and then
The
they
city
would
would
be able to get
put
that
it
for
together.
that season. Okay, then that
And
really
then-
solves all my issues.
And
I
then
had.
even, I mean, then it can be, it could be used in a variability of ways. I mean, if they wanted to use those particular needs for the music on Main, or, so it would be something, could be used in different sites, in different areas for different
It wouldn't
events.
have to be dedicated
Yeah.
to a particular site.
Yeah, for different events, or,
Kelsey, do you have any thoughts on that you want to share? And if you could you come to the microphone, because this
Oh,
won't pick
yes.
up back there. And I guarantee you, Tim didn't pick up anything.
Yeah, you're fine. I mean, I think when we're talking about creating these temporary spaces, it would likely have to be in an existing parking space on Main, which would mean you'd want a really heavy-duty barrier, just at least on that traffic lane, and then maybe something like railing or something like that. And we also want to consider the curb there, if you want to keep that space wheelchair accessible or even just ADA accessible. You can build a temporary like deck, even if that's just squares that can be taken up so that it's flush with the concrete. Just some ideas, but I would think they would be temporary in the way that you would probably want them heavy duty enough that a machinery, so people don't walk away with them, or if a car hits them, I mean, you gotta definitely consider that.
With the planter, have you seen the planters at Safeway that are around the sidewalk? I believe the
can't
city
recall
bought
them.
those.
Are they the big
They're
Yeah.
big.
They're huge.
concrete heavy, yeah, so that, I mean,
He's
that would
starting with
serve.
those, and then DPW's checking into the barriers.
same planners behind the senior center. If you-
I
if
think
you
those
walk
would
behind the
work.
senior-
It'd be nice to, if we get some other barriers too down the
Something like
road,
that.
Too.
to get them decorated by our artists like we have some of these electric
Yes.
boxes
Oh,
on.
that might
Yeah.
be cool.
There's that too, and as far as the plants and the maintenance of them, I'm sure at least we could get volunteers to water
Yeah,
But, if we could raise money to buy
Yeah.
annuals, I mean, annuals are what's gonna have to go in
Yeah.
there, but,
yeah.
those are my ideas on
But do you
that.
think those are pretty good ideas?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work out, then we just
Well,
take
you-
them away.
you
And
can
then you
always
have
find
some
some place
planters,
with
we
those
always
big
have a
flower
place.
pots.
Mhm.
Even in the parks.
Do you want to meet with him for, or do you to go ahead and have us secure some financial, stability for it? Or we don't need to meet with him and get better ideas, or if we
Well,
just
I
go ahead?
am meeting with him tomorrow
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so, we can just
Go ahead.
talk about that.
Okay, but
It's
go ahead.
really,
I think we can go ahead and
it's up to the
approve.
city and the RDC. I'm just
Yeah.
here to offer my opinion, so.
Yeah,
I think that, I mean, at least this is a fair compromise for this summer.
go
I
ahead.
agree.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rob.
Is this solely for the lot between O'Gara's and Shiny Day, or are we talking about actual spaces on Main?
I would imagine we're not gonna be able to get, I don't think the city would be able to do something on private property.
No.
Yeah,
Not
that's
the
what I'm
parking
imagining
lot.
it's gonna be out
So
front.
we're talking, one or two of the spaces that are in front of there and one or two spaces that are in front of O'Gara's, and then at the end of the season, those can be moved. We can actually use them for festival time.
yes,
We
Yes,
can actually move
exactly.
for firework time, whatever we need it for, right?
Actually, you've just answered, I had the same question about the festival and everything.
I think it's a great compromise.
And as far as the smoking on outside, without food being involved, I believe the only thing that could be enforced would be smoking within 8 feet of the entryway.
That reminds me of another point, because O'Gara's doesn't serve food, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think there is some regulation that it needs to be fully fenced off if you're gonna be drinking outside or serving alcohol, something like that. Like Beach Bank can't serve you a beer and then you walk out the door with it, but they can sell you a growler and then you can go outside with your own cup, like that. So there are workarounds, but that would have to be.
Yeah, and I'm sure, whatever it is, Johnny will figure out how to do it.
Legally,
It's
it
not-
has
They'll
to be a
figure it out.
barrier. You can literally use a felt rope or the retractable. Just by law, like some restaurants, there's a bar in the middle of it. You can take your kid in because they literally put,
A rope around it.
Law just says barrier.
What about one of them
Okay.
green plastic guys with the orange flag sticking out?
Right.
Put it out, move it out. I mean, this is a fair compromise. I still would like to see down the road.
I think it would be good for this year right now.
yeah.
And then buy us time to figure out
Because
if we
unfortunately,
need a more
yeah,
permanent solution even.
doing anything permanent will not help any of these businesses this year at this
Right.
point. We're beyond that. So if this could be done with First Friday coming up in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
that would be fantastic. Because
Oh.
it's going to be nice. It's going to be hot. It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Just see how it
And-
presents and see what kind of interest there is, and maybe we can,
That would get us June, July, August, September, at least 4, where you're 95% sure it's going to be really decent First Fridays. And First Friday this year's or in July, is that the second? Yeah, that would be the second. So that would be the night before the fireworks. I mean, that could be a real nice weekend for businesses, residents. I mean,
Actually, one more thing, as far as the ramping, the American Disabilities Act, business has to have handicap accessible areas. So we need to reach out to O'Gara's and Shiny Day and let them know with this compromise that the city and the RDC is doing, they're gonna have to do that. And they know as business owners, they have to provide that anyway.
Which reminds me of another point, so you said you were taking off the table, or the mayor, somebody said, the 2 retail establishments.
He did, he eliminated them.
That's fine. So outside of Marketplace on Main, where there was a tree there, it got hit by a car, so we need to replace that tree, but right next to that is the ADA space, so that lets out into shrubs. So it would be prudent to just stripe the space in front of it as ADA space, because that lets out onto concrete. So that would be a good addition to these improvements.
okay.
hey, thanks for all of your help with that.
Thank
and
you, Kelsey.
Thank
Hopefully-
you so much.
Hopefully this will lead to the Greenscape and RDC working together
Yes.
Yes.
more and doing some stuff. So,
I hope so.
appreciate that.
So, with that discussion, is there a motion?
What are we specifically, so I would like to put a motion that we spend not more than that we
Why don't we-
contribute not more than $5,000 towards temporary barriers and structures to create outdoor seating areas in the Main Street Business District.
For just these two businesses?
I wouldn't limit it to that.
I would just say we would not
Yeah,
spend more than
just-
$5,000 on
Yeah,
Okay.
barriers, structures, anything that would create a temporary patio space. As requested by the city, who's gonna do the more nuts and bolts of it, so. I would motion that. Does that sound like an okay?
Pretty close. I mean, and you might want to add, that could be used for, the kind of things you were talking about for festivals, for,
So basically, we would like to spend $5,000 towards, not more than $5,000 towards any kind of temporary structures and planters that the city might be purchasing to create temporary seating areas throughout.
It can
the-
be used for other functions.
Okay,
That sounds good. Is that your motion?
that is my motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
yes.
All right, there is a second. Discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it and the motion is passed.
Okay, we got something done on Main Street.
He acted like it would get done right away.
Good.
I hope so.
I mean, right away, I guess that's a relative term. To me, that could be tomorrow, but
Kathy.
Well, I mean, if you haven't sat outside of Napoli, you've missed out. It's a phenomenal place to sit outside. These will be no different, so. And there's always somebody sitting outside of Fifth Avenue, so.
And they did real well with theirs last
They
year.
did, they
Even
did.
though
They
it was late
stayed.
in the year, it
Even when it was
still-
starting to get even chilly, I saw, there was a few nights where people sitting out there in coats, so.
Yep.
So the want is there. We just gotta get it done.
Moving on to our next item of business, a presentation by Jeff Peters on certain RDC budget and TIF area assessed valuation pass-through issues. Jeff?
Thank you all for the opportunity to be here and to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You go, James.
Thank you, sir.
So one of your requirements annually with the RDC around this time of year is you have to look at where you're at financially, estimate how much money you think you're going to bring in the next year, and then decide whether you are going to capture all of the assessed value that you have eligible before you to capture, or give some back to the tax base. Now, since your bonds have been issued in 2005 or 6, whenever they were issued, you have not had a choice because you had certain obligations to the bondholders to make sure that they were paid. And in order to do that, you needed to continue to capture all the revenue that you had available to you. As we get into 2022, this begins to change. So I'll walk you through the sheet that I put before you. It shows in 2020, you came into the year with cash of approximately $595,000, collected $739,000, paid out $709,000. So you began 21 with $625,000. Based on the abstract of taxes, which is the amount that the auditor has put together at this point in time to be billed as taxes, assumably those will all be collected, but this is just the billing portion that you have access to today, is $758,240. As we've talked about also, when you get to the end of your debt service repayment, you had set aside an amount of money for further benefit of the bondholders in case you ever had a cash flow problem, and there's $240,000 in a separate fund. That will now flow into your funds toward making the debt service payments. Down below under expenditures, we've laid out for 2021 your debt service, projects that you've committed to, lighting, drainage at Garstang, road projects, Main Street, etc. So when you get to the end of '21, if you were to make all those expenditures, you would start '22 with about $882,000. Assuming that your collection cycle in '22 would be the same as '21 at $758,000. You do have one debt service payment at the beginning of '22, which is $131,560. You do have an outstanding obligation in '22 for $50,000 for your normal operating expenditures, or not operating, but professional, engineering, study costs, et cetera. You do have an obligation for LED lighting that you've made of $40,000, and that actually extends clear into '23, I believe. If you were to undertake those, you would have a considerable amount of money left over. I know we have had this discussion before about, what would we do with those monies that are in excess? Last year, we had the discussion that we were going to have development around Amtrak, and we committed some of those monies, which did not end up being spent, so that adds to your cash balance as well. We've also talked about, as we set up this new TIF district around the hospital area where Crossroads is going in, that you have blight over there, vacant buildings that you want to potentially incent to get people to come in and develop, or to put infrastructure, et cetera, in place for that, or you could use infrastructure projects in other places. Down below, I've estimated for you, if you were to set aside $1.5 million, that would essentially commit all of your revenue stream and cash that you have on hand through '22. And if you were to formally commit to setting that money aside for that, then we can again make that statement for the AV pass-through that you do not have excess assessed value to pass through to the tax base. Alternatively, if you do not set that money aside or some money aside for that, you're going to have a lot more revenue than you have expenditure. There is another part of the statute that says if your revenue exceeds your expenditures anticipated going into that year by more than 200%, then you have to make a recommendation and send the decision to the legislative body, which would be the city council, for them to decide then whether they are going to yield back part of the tax base to the underlying units of government or whether you're going to continue to recoup it. As we've talked about in the previous presentations, at the annual presentation time, the money that you collect as the RDC, you use to undertake these projects. And only as an RDC are you allowed to gather these monies in this format. You cannot give dollars back directly to those underlying taxing units. You only give back part of the tax base, and the result is the tax rate's all lower because the tax base is bigger. Because the majority of the funds of those underlying taxing districts are all controlled by a maximum levy under a statutory formula. So their dollar amount of levy that they are going to levy in 2022 does not change regardless of what you do here. It would just be spread across a larger tax base and therefore have a smaller tax rate. So questions before you today is, would you like to commit that and have that as a outstanding commitment for '22 and forward that you can now look at doing projects with, and therefore keep this decision before you and not go to the city council?
Yeah, I think we need to keep that money here so we can allocate funds for projects. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I mean, we need to.
You keep the money to allocate towards your own projects.
Yeah, because we've got some ideas kicking around, and now we're.
As I said, we are going to begin to look at a comprehensive plan to see where else we can help with the city and tackle the many issues that we've had discussions over the last couple months. Okay. Jeff, you said, is there any other questions that we want to consider? I got one, but is there any other things?
No, if you're going to go that way, I won't talk about option B. And then I have a couple completed reports that support your decision to not pass through any of the AV.
And this is pretty much what the commission has done in years past, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You've always kept it.
Yes.
But again, you had the outstanding bond obligation where
yes,
you were
yes.
required to keep it.
Yes, yes. We're just.
But we're finally getting to a point where we actually have some
position.
Yes, now you have a
money
choice.
that we can,
Your choice to keep it and spend it toward beneficial projects is the design of the redevelopment commission.
If you decide to follow this option that Jeff has outlined, I've given a simple motion that you might consider, and Jeff can comment on after it's read and whether he thinks it needs to be revised in some way, but as I understood from Jeff in reading the statute, I think
The resolution that you
Yes,
wrote?
resolution.
a motion
Oh,
even
okay.
before the resolution, in terms of reserving certain funds up to at least one.
There's a zero missing, make sure you say, I think, assuming that's supposed to be
For future
1 million.
projects.
So what's the comment there?
Resolution is just the actual
yeah.
It's supposed to be 100.
formal decision that we're not, we don't have to.
I just want to make sure you tell that. You're
Want
gonna
me to read it so
Well,
you
do
can?
it. I can do it. I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Before our attorney Bob has mentioned, there is a motion here. I am prepared to read that out. Want to make sure, just general discussion before we move into other more formal things. Make sure we get everyone covered. Rob or anyone else? We good? Okay, we're going to move on to that next step then. I have a motion here. I'm going to read out. Motion. I move that the commission budget not less than $1,500,000 for the purpose of assisting in paying for infrastructure and/or business incentives to facilitate the development or redevelopment of property in TIF allocation areas of the city, including but not necessarily limited to those in the North Emerson allocation area, formerly the CSX property, or properties west of the old State Francis Hospital that are blighted or otherwise in need of redevelopment. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll make,
There's a second from Liz. Before I call for a vote, I just have a question for Bob. As I read this, we are stating our TIF districts, but we could put this into other areas for which we would have
These are
jurisdiction over.
examples that, we know for sure that there's interest in terms of the west of the hospital, and another company ever decides that they have interest in what Milestone bought but never developed, then you had set aside $650,000 for sewer extension, which never
yes.
came to be needed.
Okay.
But if another business goes in there, they may need something similar, something less, who knows?
Yes, yes.
Discussion on the motion.
And Jeff, do you think that does what?
Yeah, I like that. I think that reads well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? I like to do things in threes, it's just how I do things in running meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved.
Robert, did you write that up?
You did.
Can you have Kelly fax it over?
I have a copy.
Oh, I was gonna say, I couldn't write fast enough.
Thank you.
There's enough to support your resolution.
Great.
Sorry.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
And then
wanna
do we
put-
need to sign each, or no?
Oh, no, on the motion, no, this
Okay, I didn't
isn't.
think so.
We
I
have
didn't think
another
so.
thing that we are going to consider that we
Sorry.
will need
Yeah, that's
signatures
fine.
on.
That's the resolution.
The resolution.
It's a resolution, yeah, sorry.
All right, based on that, we have another item of business in this regard. This is resolution number 2021-3, a resolution of the Redevelopment Commission of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, determining that there is no excess assessed valuation to allocate to overlapping taxing districts. Whereas the commission, in consultation with its financial advisor, has studied the assessed value of property within the commission's allocation areas in order to determine whether any excess valuation exists. Whereas the Beech Grove TIF Fund does not have sufficient monies to retire its outstanding debt obligations, refunding Series 2016, and fulfill its other redevelopment plan objectives. and whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14-39B4, the commission is required to notify certain authorities regarding whether there is any excess assessed valuation, yes.
Should be
collect-
value, I think, if we could change that to value,
To value?
yeah. And also up above,
And up above. I'll come back to that. I'll finish reading. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to read that third whereas clause again. Whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14-39B4, the commission is required to notify certain authorities regarding whether there is any excess assessed value collected by the commission and whether any excess value will be passed through to the overlapping taxing units. Now therefore be it resolved by the commission as follows. 1. The commission finds that no funds from excess assessed value were collected by the commission during the past year. 2. The commission further finds that as a result, no excess assessed value will be passed on to overlapping taxing districts in 2022. 3. The clerk treasurer of the city of Beech Grove, Indiana, and or an officer of the commission is directed to send notice to the Marion County Auditor, the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, and the fiscal officers of each overlapping taxing unit of the findings of this resolution. All right. And before I make a motion to accept that, I just want to find where I got in the third whereas clause, we changed valuation to value. Where was the other one? Is in the first whereas clause?
let's see. The first one should be value. The third one should be value twice, and I apologize. And can just neatly print that and.
Okay, all right. Okay, motion to adopt the resolution, then we'll move into discussion.
And Matt, and also in the title should be
Value?
value, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
Is there a second? All right, discussion on resolution 2021-3, as well as Bob, our attorney, providing any other explanation, guidance, and what have you.
And we will send out a letter, if you pass this resolution, to all the overlapping taxing districts. And I think in the past, there's been as many as 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's townships, it's the city, it's the county, it's the airport authority, it's, and we've got, 5 townships, I think, in Beech Grove? Center, Warren, Franklin, Perry. That's 4.
She said center.
Is essentially all the different taxing units we see when we get our
Yes,
individual. when we
that's
get our
them.
thing.
Can you email it and save us a few bucks?
It's,
I'm kidding.
I'm gonna write the letter. I'm gonna let Jim send it out, however he can do that. And
So just to reaffirm, we've passed this RDCs in past years have passed this resolution.
every year that I've been involved, which has been since 2012 or 2013, we have done so. But as Jeff says, we had quite a bit of bonded indebtedness. So this is the only year where if you didn't have future plan objectives, you would be in that 200% area.
We
where,
discussed this last year because we knew this was coming on the
yes,
horizon.
yes.
So,
Need more note paper. Okay. Further discussion on the motion to adopt resolution number 2021-3. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and resolution number 2021-3 has been approved. I'm going to sign this copy, and it's going to go, I assume, go on the website.
Everybody should sign, yes.
Okay, just one copy is what we need on this?
Why don't we, can you circulate a second one too?
I can, yes.
And I think
I'm
he's
going to have to
made
make the
the-
changes, though.
Changes.
Give me a moment, I'll circulate, actually,
I like to keep
pass this one down, go that way, then I'll go that way.
Or do you need to know where the changes are?
I actually do need to know what the changes are. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why.
Let's do three, so that
Three, thank you.
Kathy as secretary has one, Jim as clerk treasurer has
Value,
one,
value,
our
value.
office.
Is it gonna matter to Jim that we had to cross out some words? I mean, does it have to?
I hope not. If he's bothered by that, I can have it.
I can't imagine he will be.
I could have it retyped and recirculated.
If they need a clean copy.
Well, I
I'll-
think if we have to retype it, we're gonna have to
Sign it.
sign it.
We'll be here
This
together on
is-
Saturday.
I think a resolution is perfectly fine if we made the necessary changes prior to.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, as long as the
Voting.
minutes reflect.
If,
yes,
Yeah.
if that is required, I would just ask that be brought on Saturday, since we'll be
Yeah.
meeting again then.
yeah.
While we're adjusting these and getting them signed, I do have a question for
I could bring it Saturday.
Saturday. I do have a question for Jeff and Bob jointly. Now, I will let you know, or at least the people watching, that we've had conversations about obligations that RDC has around this time of year. Again, I want to raise the thing in regards to this on when we have to make our annual presentation. Does that have to be done by June 15th? What I'm referring to, as I understand, is that we have our June meeting early, of which we invite all the other taxing districts to give a report on something.
We have to do it within a year's time. I'm not sure exactly the date we did it last year.
I was,
Going early works for me because I will be out of town on a conference the next week, so,
if we can,
yeah, I would not be able to be here.
But June 10th works.
Whatever that June
Yeah, that would be
date
June.
is, works, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, just let me verify again, sorry, apologies. And then, Jeff, I know you've helped put together presentations before and everything. I understand that there may be scheduling involved. Is there a way for, if you normally have given the presentation, you can't, for one of us to do that, how's it worked in the past in giving the presentation?
I typically give the presentation, walk you through a lot of the same things that we just discussed on passing through the AV and why we don't do that. The only conflict I may have on the 10th would be at Grand Park for a baseball game. Outside of that, I assume that will not hit in the time period that you meet, but I don't know that at this point. I'm on my last year baseball with my last kid, so trying to enjoy him. And as for notice, you need advance notice to the underlying or the overlapping taxing
I
units.
think,
We need to send out a letter.
But that's something you guys take care of, that's not
And-
really
I think
something that
Jim-
we.
Through the clerk treasurer,
Yeah.
Just the letter, you don't need the presentation, correct?
need the president.
yeah.
Okay, and based on what you did tonight, I'll finish your presentation, it'll be ready to deliver. And it has complete context of the schedules that are in there and will be identical to the one that was delivered in previous years, just with new figures put in for current data.
So you're saying on the 10th, you might not be able to make it for the presentation because of
I may not, but
The baseball game is
yeah.
pretty iffy, that's, so.
well, it's a tournament that starts Thursday and
Yeah.
ends Sunday, so you don't know where you end up in the drawing when you
Right.
play.
Right.
But at least I'm in Grand Park and not Tennessee or
Right.
Georgia.
Do you think we should change the time on that for your sake, or you don't know? It's
We
not
don't
gonna
know,
It's not
yeah.
gonna make a difference? Okay, okay. You wanna go the week earlier, or just the third, or? That's what everybody, anybody,
That conference is the last week of June, isn't it? We could do the 17th.
You could do the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Check something here.
As long as
17th isn't any better for me, got baseball in Anderson.
Doesn't have to be a Thursday.
it doesn't, as long as we have this room available, or elsewhere.
Like Wednesday the 9th.
Wednesday the 9th. I personally am looking at my calendar. I do not have anything that day, but
Could do June 9th.
I don't update my calendar usually. I'm trying to think. What is usually on a Wednesday? Well, let me just check that second Wednesday.
Is that any better for you, Joe?
I have something at 5, but you would meet at 7?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can do 7 on the 9th.
What age baseball is this?
He just turned 17.
What team? It's not one of Logan. It's not a tournament Logan's in, because maybe we do want him to not be able to make it.
Logan's 16 years.
Oh, 16. Never mind.
Well, he's
Okay.
playing
Then
16.
we're
He
good. We
just
have-
turned 17 after, is it T3C or something? It's one of the powerhouse teams out of Franklin.
You better make sure Logan's not in that tournament. We'll. Okay, so we have,
So the June meeting
we'll be on the
will be
9th.
moved up to Wednesday, June the 9th at 7 p.m., presumably here at the city council, to give our annual presentation to the other overlapping taxing districts.
And I assume you want your other normal business to also take place?
Yes, yes. And other normal business, obviously, yes.
I guess Tim can be here, hopefully. Tim, can you be here? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, just let me make that note here. Okay,
Here's a copy for you, Robert. And then I will give Jim a copy of this and a copy of the docket that we, okay. I'll get it to him tomorrow.
and then Kathy, the presentation, the additional documents they gave, that's a second copy. I'm gonna give it to you for just attachments for minutes. All right, moving on to our next item of business, an update on Commissioner Training Workshop scheduled for Saturday, May the 22nd. Bob?
Yeah, I hope everybody can make it. We, I think, lucked out Rhonda Cook with the Redevelopment Association of Indiana and with AIM, Advancing Indiana Municipalities, which used to be Cities and Towns. She is going to, from 9 to, we're meeting from 9 to 12 on Saturday morning, but at least from 10 to 12, she'll be making a PowerPoint presentation that she's given to Hancock County, which is the county she lives in, covering a lot of the issues that we discuss and debate, as well as some, best practices, things to consider. I think it'll be really, really valuable. The first hour, I'll bore you with some legal stuff from the code on what the code is fairly clear that we can do and we can't do, but
Good. Bore us, that's good.
Well, as an attorney, I will not be bored. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
good.
learning something other
Yes.
than election law.
Yes.
This is why we made you president.
There you go.
Okay, so that's looking good. I look forward to seeing everyone there, as well as any members of the public who would like to attend. I would just remind you, as it states in the notice downstairs, this will be a workshop, so public comment will not be available at this particular meeting, but definitely this is a learning opportunity. And if you have any other questions that come from that meeting, please let us know, or raise them with our other elected officials, because the things I hope that we will be doing will require everyone's input from here in the city. So the time, so the workshop will start at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
no, not
Saturday, thank you.
Saturday,
Not,
Very sleep deprived, so yeah,
It's
on
from
Saturday
9 to
and go
12.
till noon. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that he needs, he's our liaison, so that, I would say that's not
there's somebody that wants it to-
necessary that
Now-
you're here for that.
we can get you the written materials. In fact, I had a packet I've been carrying around, but I forgot to bring it today for Mr. Skirvin for months.
If you give me that stuff on Saturday, I'm sure I'll see you at the varsity game.
And I'll bring that, plus if Rhonda Cook has any printouts, I don't know whether she will or not of her PowerPoint, we can certainly get that to you.
And I'm assuming we'll record this just like any other meeting. This will be available on the city's website at some point, Facebook page, right? So, yeah, great, perfect. I heard a yes. So we can follow along with that, but yes, definitely want to make sure, Rob, that you have all the other materials so that we're all on the same footing, and if we all have common questions, we get them all answered. Right? Okay.
All right, perfect.
Okay. Moving into our last item of business, that is public comment. I will speak first just briefly. Again, I appreciate being elected president. A little bit shocked because I've only been on the commission since January.
You're doing it.
But looking forward to leading some good, fruitful discussions. As you can tell, I operate a meeting in a unique way. I try sticking close to Robert's Rules of Order as much as possible. So that's why I will always ask 3 times if there's any other discussion, and then we move on into votes. But for members here, we'll just continue to do our discussions the same way we've always been doing them. So I appreciate the honor. Any other public comments?
I wanted just to bring up real quick, and it just came to my attention. So last year, we joined as a member, the Redevelopment Association of Indiana. We had a membership, and it was just only cost us $25. But then this renewal, which will be due in July, will be $125, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And I know that was advised. I do have the membership form, but it was from 2019 to 2020. But I don't know when we discussed.
We'll probably have to discuss that the next meeting, which is
yeah, but I
just in a
just
couple
You
of
can
weeks.
ask Rhonda, she'll know.
Okay, but that's something that we'll want to continue to be members of for that additional information, the association, okay.
Oh, I have the same form. I was going to check. I have a
Okay.
form that's the same one.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll probably, like to have that on the June agenda. I understand that there are some good resources on the website under the members tab, so, and we get some pretty good emails from them.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one request, and Rhonda's asked, she wants to project, and she said a wall would work, so think about which wall might be best, and you won't be able to set up here probably, you'll probably be,
Probably got to flip
yeah.
right there at that wall.
There's that back wall, yeah.
That-
Yeah.
Yeah, we can arrange that, yeah.
Yep.
And then she might want all of our updated emails. That might be something we can consider, because I don't know.
Well, we'll just cross that bridge when she gets here.
Yes, but I get their emails already because
good.
it goes through the RDC account.
Yes,
Gotten
yes,
a
yeah.
million emails.
So they have our main one, the
Yes,
forwarding
good.
account.
Yeah, a lot of emails.
Any other?
Soliciting on them.
A lot of emails.
Well, yeah, there are the ones, yes. Any other public comment? We have retired the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make said motion.
Is there a second? Second by Nathan. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 7:57 PM.
Oh, great.